I have a very good friend who's a Buddhist teacher, and the other day we were talking about karma, and I mentioned to her that I didn't think karma was real and that I didn't think there was such a thing as justice in the universe. This is a topic of one of my previous videos, of course. And she posed an interesting question to me. She said, well, if karma isn't real and if there's no punishment for doing bad things, or no guaranteed punishment, let's say, and there's no guaranteed reward for doing good things, and you don't get another chance to live a better life, then what's the point of it all? And if it's not real, then how can you be positive about life? That's what she asked me. So I decided to take a stab at answering this question, because it's quite a natural question for people to ask, actually. If you say that karma isn't real, it's the kind of a natural question, because the whole point of karma is to reassure you that there is such a thing as justice, that the universe makes sure things are in balance. So anyway, I said to her, well, if I know that I've only got one life, then actually that one life becomes really precious. How I live that life and how I feel during that life is going to be really important, because I know that I don't get another chance. And this applies even to situations at a micro scale. If something bad happens to me, if I do something good, or if I do something bad, I know that what happens after that isn't guaranteed to be good or bad. It's a probability. But what's for sure is that I control the choices that I make. And so these are the two things that we have for sure in life. We know for sure that there's randomness. Sometimes bad things happen to good people. Bad things happen to you and you can't even explain it. It's just random. And at the time, you think, oh, why is this happening to me? Why am I being singled out? Why am I being punished? But later on, at least for me, when I zoom out and look at it, I realize that bad things happen to lots of people every single day. That's just humanity. That's just how human civilization has always been. That's just how the world is. So in a way, if you can't rationalize it away and try and explain it, that's not a problem, because sometimes it doesn't need to be explained. It's just part of that randomness of being alive in this universe. So that's for sure. There is randomness in the universe, which means you can't control what happens to you. But the other thing you do control are the choices that you make. So the two things you have are randomness and the choices that you make. And it's these two things combined that determine the quality of your life. So going back to the answer to my friend, my point to her was that if you've only got one life, then you're going to take a lot more care to make sure that you live a good life, that you make this life the best you can make it. And then you can drill that down further. So there's a quote from Robin Sharma that I came across years ago, where he says, "Your days are your life in miniature. As you live your days, so you live your life." And I love that quote. I love that quote because it really emphasizes the importance of each day. Now, I did just say that there's randomness in life, which means you can't control what happens to you, ultimately. You can control the choices you make, but you can't really control what's going to happen to you. Sometimes things are just going to happen to you that are just bad. It's going to ruin your day, ruin your week, your month, maybe your year, maybe years, like long COVID for people who have long COVID, and you can't control it. So if your days are your life in miniature and how you live your days is really important, then how do you reconcile those two things? So that's where it comes down to choices again. You can't control what's going to happen to you. All you can control are the choices that you make. And another way of looking at it is that what happens to you is your life situation. So the choices that you make in how you live your life determine your outcomes to an extent. And then there's the randomness that also comes in to determine the full outcome. And that's your life situation, the content of your life. This is what Eckhart Tolle talks about in The Power of Now. He says you've got your life situation and you've got your life. Your life situation is the contents of your life, your job, your identity, what you have, your relationship, what you're achieving, money, all those kind of things that you care about, actually. And then your life, what he means by that is your presence and being in this moment, literally just being alive and being aware of that. I like that idea a lot. And I think of it in a similar way, which is life situation, the contents of my life, which is a combination of choices and randomness. And then there's life energy. So life energy for me is the presence, but also how I feel in each moment. My mental and my emotional state, that is ultimately what my life energy is. And life energy is something that I can create. I can choose to create good life energy. So it's actually a choice as well, but it's a different kind of choice. There's a choice I can make in terms of what job I want to do, in terms of what business I want to start, or I don't know, what woman I want to pursue. But then there's also the life energy, which is just how I want to feel about myself during the day and throughout the day. And that comes down to creating good energy, discipline, working out, doing the things that I promised myself I would do, like making this video, for example. How I relate to other people, putting effort in terms of keeping in touch with people, putting effort in terms of trying to be present with people when they're telling me something. So that's all part of making good life energy. So if every day you can create good life energy and feel good about yourself, then going back to the quote, as you live your days, so you live your life. Well, then if every day or most of your days are good energy, then you can have a life overall of good energy and feel good about your life. And I think that's the best you can do, really. If there's no karma, and I don't believe in God either. I don't think people are going to be punished or rewarded with heaven and hell. So if you don't have that, then the best you can do, in my opinion, is this, right? You're basically making the best out of the situation. You've got a small percentage of people who are suffering on a constant basis. You've got a small percentage of people who are winning on a constant basis. Everything is great. Everything just works out. They're just happy. They've got health, wealth, connections, love, all of it, right? But the majority of people, if you think of the normal curve, the bell curve, the majority of people have a little bit of this at times, a little bit of that at times. And most of the time it's kind of neutral and going through life. And that's how it is for most people. So for most people, I think it is possible to create a good energy life, create good energy for most of their life, and mostly have a life that feels good. I think it's possible for most people, despite the hardships and the challenges and the obstacles they're going to go through. But it takes mental discipline, and it takes a lot of mental training, and it's a lifelong endeavor.